when I took a picture, I even look at the picture, I couldn't see it. But in person, I was like, took my breath away. Like, holy hell.
Welcome back to Bodybuilding Nation. Today we're diving into some major updates from top competitors as we approach the highly anticipated Pittsburgh Pro. William Bonac, the Conqueror's final countdown. Let's kick things off with William Bonac, who's now just 11 days away from hitting the Pittsburgh Pro stage. The Conqueror appears noticeably reduced in overall mass compared to previous updates, but this is likely due to his current nutrition protocol, running extremely low carbs and minimal food intake at this final stretch. Despite the temporary size reduction, his muscle detail is improving daily. Once his team implements the carb-loading phase, his physique will transform dramatically. Bonac has become a genuine threat to any competitor hoping to qualify for this year's Olympia. Bonac proved he's still a force to be reckoned with. It's worth noting that Andrew Jacked looked surprisingly vulnerable at this year's FIBO Germany. Had Bonac competed there with the same package he brought to Detroit, he likely would have walked away with another victory. Remember, Bonac's competitive season won't conclude with Pittsburgh. He's already confirmed he'll be competing at the New York Pro just 2.5 weeks later. Anyone underestimating William Bonac is making a critical error. You can count on him bringing a completely dialed-in, razor-sharp physique to the stage. The most remarkable improvement in Bonac's physique over the past year has been his leg development. Not only has he restored his leg size, but they appeared larger than ever at the Detroit Pro. When discussing longevity in professional bodybuilding, something incredibly rare in this sport, Bonac belongs in conversations with legends like Dexter Jackson and Kamal El-Ghaghni. At nearly 43 years old, he continues to find ways to enhance his physique, which is nothing short of extraordinary. Derek Lunsford, the champion's statement. Next, we have an update from reigning Arnold Classic champion and former Mr. Olympia, Derek Lunsford. What an incredible sight for someone like Hadi Choopan and Ramon Dino to witness. A former Mr. Olympia, pushing himself to extreme limits to make a powerful statement at the upcoming Pittsburgh Pro that he's determined to reclaim his Olympia title. Derek's decision to compete at Pittsburgh was somewhat risky. We all know that in bodybuilding, countless things can go perfectly throughout prep, only for something to go wrong in the final 24 hours, or even during those crucial 30 minutes on stage. This scenario has played out numerous times throughout bodybuilding history. A perfect example was the late Sean Roden at the 2017 Mr. Olympia, particularly during prejudging. He came in so off that he didn't even make the first call-out. However, under Chris Aceto's guidance, he completely transformed his physique within 24 hours. By entering Pittsburgh, Derek has earned tremendous respect from fans worldwide. Now he and Chris Aceto must deliver nothing less than perfection, at minimum matching the standard they set 8 weeks ago at the Arnold Classic. In Derek's mind, though, he's aiming to substantially surpass that Arnold package with improvements across all aspects, especially his leg development. If there's one element that could make Derek truly unbeatable, it's increased quad size and sweep. Enhanced quad development would further emphasize his already incredible V-taper, which seems almost impossible considering he already possesses one of bodybuilding's most impressive V-tapers. As Samson Dowda astutely noted a few weeks ago, if everyone's eyes keep returning to Derek's extraordinary structure on stage, everyone else will essentially be battling for second place at Pittsburgh. Can Derek peak perfectly twice within just 2 months? What do you think? Brandon Curry, still supreme, moving on to 2019. Mr. Olympia champion Brandon Curry, who recently shared a physique update. While he appears slightly reduced in size, his signature shape and structure remain exceptional. We know the Masters Olympia was a title that interested Brandon even before this year's Arnold Classic. Looking at his current condition, he could begin prep anytime and be ready to compete. Brandon looks remarkably good just 8 weeks after the Arnold, where he defied numerous predictions by placing in the top 4 among fierce competition. His ability to maintain this condition 2 months post-show is truly impressive, especially considering this isn't his usual approach. After years training in the Oxygen gyms in Kuwait and winning prestigious titles like the Arnold and Olympia as part of the Camel Crew, Brandon's coaching change last year has clearly benefited him tremendously. Many thought Brandon's career was winding down, particularly after failing to place in the top 8 at last year's Olympia. However, he returned with a vengeance, making a definitive statement with his Arnold performance. While his days as a top 4 Olympia contender may be behind him, not out of disrespect, but simply acknowledging the incredible depth of talent at the highest level, the Masters Olympia presents an excellent opportunity for Brandon. Only Dexter Jackson has achieved the trifecta of winning multiple Olympias, multiple Arnold Classics, and the Masters Olympia. Brandon could become only the second man in history to accomplish this feat if he decides to pursue the Masters Olympia this year. It would be truly monumental if Brandon takes this off-season to make a transformation similar to William Bonac's and returns to this year's Mr. Olympia with the same package that won him the Arnold in 2019, which many consider his career best appearance. Martin Fitzwater, the sleeper. Next up is Martin Fitzwater, whose best friend and training partner Pat Wilkin has returned to help Martin through these challenging final workouts as the show approaches. It's curious that the majority of the bodybuilding community views this year's Pittsburgh Pro primarily as a showdown between Derek and Nick Walker, despite Martin placing in the top 4 at his Olympia debut last year. At no point during the Olympia did Martin look out of place among the world's absolute best. The skepticism likely stems from fans being unimpressed with Martin's recent guest posing appearances. However, as Milos Sarcev explains, Martin truly shines on the competitive stage. When he appeared at the Olympia and was called into that top 4 comparison, it became undeniably clear just how good he really is, with no weaknesses to exploit. Martin and his coach Stefan don't concern themselves with stage weight or appearance weeks before competition. Their sole focus is reproducing that Olympia caliber package on stage, though it remains to be seen if that's even possible again, as that Olympia peak represented absolute perfection. Many fans still believe Martin's high placement at last year's New York Pro, where he pushed Nick Walker, and subsequent Olympia success came primarily because Nick was off his best form at New York and absent from the Olympia altogether. Martin likely needs to defeat someone of Nick's caliber to firmly establish himself as a legitimate top 4 Olympia contender this year. Consider this. If Nick defeats Martin at Pittsburgh, it automatically pushes Martin outside the top 4 conversation, especially with competitors like Andrew Jacked, who missed last year's Olympia, returning to the mix. Looking back, Martin's decision to skip both the Arnold and FIBO Germany appears strategic, as he clearly needed more size. People underestimating Martin heading into Pittsburgh are making a serious mistake. Sergio Oliva Jr. Competition record. Sergio Oliva Jr. recently responded to criticism about his competition frequency by posting a video showcasing the medals he's earned throughout his professional career. Let's examine Sergio's actual competition record to determine whether these criticisms are unfair or have merit. Sergio began his pro career by winning the New York Pro in 2017, his only professional victory to date. In 2018, he competed in 3 shows, including the Mr. Olympia, which remains his only Olympia appearance in his 9-year professional career. He didn't compete at all in 2019, which made sense considering he didn't qualify for that year's Olympia. After taking an extended off-season, Sergio competed once in 2020 at the Arnold, Ohio, placing in the top 5. In 2021, he appeared in shows like the Arnold and Legion Sports Fest. Notably, Sergio didn't compete at all during 2022. He participated in the California Pro in 2023, but didn't compete again until this year's FIBO Germany. To be fair, Sergio had legitimate reasons for his limited schedule. He was detained in Dubai for several months following an incident and later sustained an injury. However, the statistics are clear. In 9 years as a professional, Sergio has skipped competing entirely during 3 years. During his 9-year pro career, he's competed in a total of 9 shows, averaging just 1 competition per year. For perspective, Akim Williams competed in 7 shows within a single 12-month period. Eddie Hall's MMA debut, 30-second destruction. Eddie Hall, widely regarded as one of the strongest humans to ever walk the planet, just made his official one-on-one MMA debut against another strongman legend. While Eddie previously participated in a handicap match against 2 opponents, this marks his first legitimate MMA contest in the super heavyweight division. His opponent was no pushover, Mariusz Pudzianowski, a KSW veteran and multiple-time World's Strongest Man champion. Despite Pudzianowski's experience advantage, the outcome was shocking. Eddie Hall demolished him in just 30 seconds. Technical breakdown, surprising skill from the giant training, alongside Tom Aspinall, arguably the world's premier heavyweight fighter currently, has clearly benefited Eddie tremendously. For someone making their MMA debut, Hall displayed surprisingly sound fundamentals. What stood out immediately was Eddie's stance discipline, something many novice fighters abandon once the action begins. Instead of the awkward movement you might expect from a 334-pound strongman, Eddie advanced with purpose, using a distinctive galloping motion where he brings his rear foot forward first. This movement pattern signaled his intention to plant for power shots. Eddie initiated with a classic combination that would make Tom Aspinall proud, the jab straight right, the same combination Aspinall uses to devastating effect. While Eddie doesn't possess Aspinall's speed or athletic fluidity, the sheer force behind his punches proved overwhelming. His jab extension was technically sound, using it effectively to measure distance for his power right hand. When Pudzianowski attempted to counter with his own jab to halt Eddie's forward momentum, Hall was already launching his right hand. There's a natural head movement that accompanies this punch, and Eddie used it to slip while wrapping around Pudzianowski's arm and connecting with a thunderous blow that immediately stunned the Polish fighter. Strength on display, the clinch dominance. Following the initial exchange, Eddie again launched a jab-straight combination. While the jab grazed Pudzianowski, the right hand was evaded. However, even with the missed punch, Hall's 334-pound frame colliding with his smaller opponent created an advantageous position. This clinch scenario showcased why grappling with Eddie Hall is a nightmare proposition. When Pudzianowski secured an underhook and attempted to control Eddie, Hall's inexperience briefly showed as he resorted to raw power, unleashing a barrage of punches. What happened next was extraordinary. Eddie landed perhaps the shortest left hook in MMA history, yet generated enough force to completely disrupt Pudzianowski's balance, despite the Polish fighter having established double underhooks. For context, this is a clinch position where Pudzianowski should have had control, yet the minimal leverage punch from Hall knocked him off center, a testament to Eddie's freakish power. The finishing sequence, as Pudzianowski leaned leftward attempting to regain balance, Eddie unleashed several strikes to the back of his opponent's head. In fairness, the referee should have intervened at this point given the illegal target area and the devastating power behind each blow. Even a single shot to the back of the head from a 334-pound former world's strongest man poses serious danger. The fight's most impressive moment came when Pudzianowski attempted a desperate double-leg takedown. Eddie instinctively countered with a left overhook, known as a whizzer in wrestling, and quite literally threw his 267-pound opponent, himself a former world's strongest man, across the cage as if he weighed half that amount. The subsequent ground and pound finished the contest. While some of the finishing strikes did land to the back of Pudzianowski's head, one as he was rotating, two more blatantly illegal, this responsibility falls more on the referee than on Eddie, who as a novice is still learning the intricacies of MMA rules. What did you think of Eddie Hall's MMA debut? Let us know in the comments below. That wraps up today's bodybuilding updates. If you enjoyed this content, hit that like button and subscribe to Bodybuilding Nation for more updates on your favorite competitors. Thanks for watching.